Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday service. If you can see me and hear me, if one of you could let me know that that's true. Hi, Morgan, Sandra, Sarah, Jocelyn, Sasha, all of you. Welcome. Welcome. It's wonderful to feel you. I know I can't see you, but I do feel you. Karen, Mary Jo, Taylor, Jill, Yvonne. So, Era. So, welcome. We're going to have some time this morning. Hi, Elena. We're going to have some time this morning together, um, about an hour. And what I, hi, Mara. Huh. Hi, Rain. Um, it's really wonderful to feel you all. It's good to be together. It's really good to be together, actually, and joining together around a deeper flame, an inner flame. So, you know, I've got a series of these Sunday services coming up, and partly I'm coming out of sabbatical, so I'm ready to I'm ready to do this again and coming back into the work, and obviously there's a lot moving and a lot going on. So my intention with Sunday service is just to be deeply present to whatever it is that this tradition that's behind me and within me and around me can offer to all of you as you're navigating, all the things that are in front of you. I'm very aware that each of us is on a very different journey, but we're underneath of it. We're being asked, I think, to rise up in the same way, which is into nobility, which is into a deeper truth and a deeper alliance and a deeper connection, a true connection with that which we trust in the realm of the sacred. So today's Sunday service, the hidden sacred, is about that. Hi, Kathy, Catherine, Phyllis, Morgan, Amanda. Kathy says she's glad I took a sabbatical. I'm glad I did too. It was a version of sabbatical, as much as I am capable of doing. Um, So welcome. We're just going to take a couple more minutes while everybody's hopping on. I encourage you to take a moment to check in with your body, yourself, and just feel, is there any way that you need to tend to your own well-being? And anything, getting a drink, getting a blanket, a pillow, or just getting situated, getting a little more comfortable so that you can be present for this hour together in the best way for you. Um, Hi, Anita, Lupe, Holly. So, the flow of Sunday service today is we're going to begin with just a prayer and invocation. Then I'm going to bring forward a teaching, a reading from her mystery school. And what I've chosen for today is I created an advanced curriculum last year called Queen's Command, and I've pulled a teaching from there that deals with the hidden sacred and the nature of that which is never will never be revealed, right? That river under the river that's that's upholding and keeping us full and filling us from underneath as we're rising up into life. So that's what we're focusing on. That teaching. Um, then we'll move into actually touching that together. I'll discuss the teaching a little bit, and then we'll really move into actually touching it together, and then conclude with just some witnessing, some sharing of together, some bearing witness to each other in what we are actually holding, what actually does live in us and what we touch. And we'll close with a prayer. Um, There were a couple things I wanted to clarify as we get into this, and the first is that I think there might be some men joining today, and that's really wonderful. This is meant to be for all people. I also just want to just say, forgive me, please, because I generally work with women, and my language at times may move into a more, pronouns and things like that um, that are more what I'm used to. However, you are very welcome here, and this is very much the deep feminine tradition. The tradition that I hold, the lineage that I feel living through me, is very much an approach to life, and it is. I think there are really significant. There's significance to the literal incarnation in a female body and the deep feminine truth. For me, it's now we're into Taoist and Sufi teachings and uh, okay, Cat looks like Catherine's sorted out. So just to say that you are very welcome. I apologize. Please, just all of you, please translate whatever you need to in order to find what in this time and what and we're sharing is actually for you, what's actually true for you. Um, and Yvonne's asking, so if you have a bad connection, you can't. This will be recorded, and I'll be sending it out for sure. So I wanted to clarify that. I also wanted to clarify as we move into this teaching, it's really important to me. So, in her mystery school, we go through 9 different, very, very distinct aspects of deep feminine tradition, practice, and sensibility, right? So, what we're bringing forward today is from the teachings around Dark Mother. It's from this consideration of the hidden sacred, right? We're focusing in and we're bringing the hidden sacred up to really let her shine completely, right? So I want that to be understood though in the context of there is a whole other realm devoted to Alchemista when we're moving into the brilliance and the action and will force, right? There's a whole other realm devoted to paradise and sensuality. There's a whole other realm devoted to sovereignty and dominion. And when I'm speaking today about from this teaching around the hidden sacred, I want I want you to understand that the way that I hold it is that we're always just turning a prism and catching what light is there, right? This is lifting up the hidden sacred, letting her speak for herself, touching into that mystery and that truth on her own, right? We're not asking this teaching to answer the questions of, and then how do we move with will force? Or, and then what about sensuality? Or then, all the things, right? I'm aware that in the world right now, in a lot of conversations, there's often this tendency to not allow a thing to have its fullness just as it is, knowing that other things have their fullness, their very different fullness. And that, from a deep feminine tradition and a deep feminine holding, none of that is in opposition, actually. One thing does not have to answer to the other. They exist in their fullness together. They move and they cycle and they become one into the other. So as we lift up the hidden sacred, I invite you to focus in, allow your attention to become distilled on this pearl that we're rising up from the deeps, that this one beautiful mystery, and to let her shine completely and see what she has to give for you. Don't ask her to be all things. Yeah, that sound all right? Hi, Annie and Maria. All right. So let's just start with a prayer together. Just come present. If it's safe for you to close your eyes, please do so. You don't have to. You can always just soften your gaze and sink back and in, coming home to the center here. Blessed One, shepherding presence, torchbearer at the crossroads, life giver, way shower, merciful and graceful, one. We gather together in your name and your presence. Please wrap us in your gentle, powerful, clarifying mantle. Please reach into each one of our hearts, finding the sacred need there, filling the cup that may be empty. Bring us to remembrance, home, together, but also in the deep inner privacy that belongs only to each one of us. Thank you for bringing us safely and with love here together today. May what we share be a beacon, light a flame that is felt, that warms the hearts of many. Blessed be. So, the hidden sacred. I'm going to start here with a reading from her mystery school, and then I'm going to move into just some discussion around that. Um, so, as I said, this is from Queen's Command, and in Queen's Command, we were working with claiming, right? So, the claiming that we were working with is the claiming of shelter, meaning the claiming of this that which shelters the sacred, right? The need for us, for our deepest truths, for our deepest vulnerabilities, and also our greatest powers to shelter, to take refuge in a hidden place, to incubate, right, in darkness, and to draw again, to come again and again and drink from the deeper well, right? So in that, this is where that teaching is coming from. So I know that you and I and she all meet in the hidden sacred, that all is brought to stillness there, silenced and sheltered in the dark. This is what it is to be priestess or sacred, keeper of the sacred, to rest in the depths of that which cannot be named, which never leaves its silence, and even more to become one with another, to escort the world into that silence. The world may resist the death that is life, wrapping itself so tightly in prideful noise and doing that holy silence simply stays where she is, invisible and content and elusive to the overstimulated. Make yourself a dwelling place for the substance of silence. Your rest, your return to the hidden sacred, is your silent summoning of volcanic power. So there's a lot in there in terms of the hidden sacred. And what I want to say first of all is that the thing about the hidden sacred is that she always remains hidden, right? This is the dance between the hidden and the revealed. We draw from our hidden sacred to bring gifts, to bring the new, to bring salvation and love and truth into revelation, to reveal that to the world. But we draw it from a hidden place, right? And today, as we're moving towards the hidden sacred, what we're wanting to do is honor the fact that a part of the hidden sacred always remains hidden, and we must return to that place, right? That the hidden sacred does not want to be exposed. It doesn't want to be revealed. That's not its volition. It's not what it is for, right? The hidden sacred dwells in the deeper inner sanctum and nourishes us, guides us, gives to us from that place, right? So as we're talking about the hidden sacred together, all of that is pointing towards this place that is ultimately nameless, that will not be talked about, that will not be named, but that we can gather our we can gather around and feel together through the power of words and articulation and our intention. So, what is the significance right now of your hidden sacred? Well, first of all, she's significant in and of her own right, right? The hidden sacred doesn't have to do anything, doesn't have to offer anything to the world, doesn't have to answer anything. It exists, and that existence is for its own sake, right? There's a holiness, there's an import there. So when working with the hidden sacred and the need and the draw to return again and drink from our hidden sacred, what lives inside of us, that deeper inner spring, that deeper place, that soul place. One of the ways to get there is to realize that if we're asking anything of it, then we're kind of missing it, right? That the hidden sacred doesn't we return to that place, and we do it through softening back and down and in, and letting it emerge, letting it be. We move from the place that we often live where we might be drawing on that we might be rooted in that somewhere, but we're offering, we're revealing, we're giving, we're we're revealing the gifts and the fruition of the hidden sacred. To deeply anchor again in the hidden sacred means to allow it to be hidden and not revealed. To rest back from whatever compulsions, needs, desires, feelings of um, anything that is trying to reveal that place. Right? And our world is asking for a lot of revealing right now, a lot of exposing, a lot of explaining, I mean, it's always this way, right? There's a lot of what's your posture? What are you bringing forward into the world? What's coming out of you that is most true, and where we can go wrong, or that's strong, where it can become distorted and where we can become depleted and actually lose our deeper truth and the real substance of power inside of us is when we leave the hidden sacred and kind of only exist in that place of, well, this is who I am, this is what I believe, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm offering, this is my gift, this is how I'm showing up for it and for my world, right? The hidden sacred must be turned to in accordance with her own laws, which is that she's not meant to be revealed. She's only meant to be known in your inner privacy. There is no explaining this place to anyone. When you really touch the hidden sacred in you, the minute you try to put words to it, you'll start to lose it. You'll start to miss it. And we can come up with beautiful words and we can touch each other and we can have presence with each other and we can come into that place together. But it's an unnameable, deeply private gift that lives inside of us, right? And I want to highlight that because the possibility with the way a lot of the imbalances that are in our culture, a lot of the extreme alchemy that's happening in our world, extreme transformation, the possibility is of depleting to the point of collapse or kind of lifting off of the real substance of what's actually sacred to you, that substantial known presence, and kind of moving away, creating from a place that's empty and not full. And it makes a huge difference. So what we're doing together today is we're validating, we are lifting up the realm and the reality and the necessity of the hidden sacred as that which the river that runs under all the other rivers of life, right? The unspoken and unnameable presence that you must touch often, especially when you feel far from home. And to touch that place is to ask nothing of it, to simply ask to come home, right? To simply turn towards it and let it be revealed. Let it be felt. Let it remain in your inner privacy, right? And know that that is more than enough. More than enough. So, um, I know that you and I and she all meet in the hidden sacred. So the hidden sacred is a meeting place, right? It's a place underneath of all of the different currents of life, all the different posturings. It's a meeting place, right? And I think that's one of the things that we're most needing in our world is a sense of like, okay, with all this, with all the polarities, all the things, where are we going to meet? Where are we going to find each other? More importantly, where are we going to find each other in a place that is actually going to give rise to something this world has never seen before? A level of sacred context and truth and respect for life and protection of life that has never been seen before, right? So, meeting in the hidden sacred, the invitation to do that is a really important invitation right now for you, for our world. It is a meeting place and it's largely silent, right? All is brought to stillness there, silenced and sheltered in the dark. Again, it's not revealed, it's not diagnostic, it's not something that you can display, right? It's something that will influence the entire world around you. And it's something that will feel more real to you than anything else, right? But there's a living silence around the hidden sacred. I think of music and articulation and dance and all the beauty that comes out of us. That that comes from this place of the hidden sacred. This that comes from this a birthing place, right? And so, yeah. So just to say that when turning towards that deeply private, hidden, sacred place, and in order to restore there, right? Because part of what we're working with today is restoration. Where are you taking refuge? In all of this, where are you taking refuge? Where you don't have to explain yourself, and there's something inside of you that has you, right? That's filling the river under your river, that has you anchored in a lineage that you trust, that has you aware of the sacred trust that life actually is. There's a certain amount of stillness there, right? And I say in this that it's wrapped, what do I say? Silenced and sheltered in the dark. There's an incubation to it. From that place, clear lights will shine. From that place, alchemy will be successful instead of combusting. From that place, that which lives inside of you will be purified and emerge, right? So to trust that, in a way, this is part of the gift of these times. We're surrounded by the dark, we're surrounded by the unknown. And uh, we divorce ourselves from the hidden sacred. We divorce ourselves from a certain amount of the sacred context and purpose of this time by filling all of that with the things that we think we know. Not because it isn't sometimes stabilizing to express what we think we know, but because that's not what's happening here. That's not what we're in. We are inside of the dark, and there's a reason for that. There is a reason that it's almost impossible to know anything for sure. Because there's an incubation happening, and there is an enforced um, return to the mystery and a more pure, more true connection to life itself every moment, right? So to understand that it's up to you whether or not you turn to the hidden sacred in you and move from that place, or and move into the dark from that place. From the dark, you draw light. You draw the things that are actually really true for you. You take the time to do that. Or if you fill up all the things that you don't know with things that you think you kind of know, or postures or opinions and all these things, there's a rigidity in that. And in order to get through a time of transformation like what we're in, to follow a golden path, to stay supple, to actually birth something, to dilate enough to bring through what is actually yours to give to these times, rigidity, we can't be rigid, we'll break, and we'll break people around us. So we're looking for a supple embodiment, supple action, right timing, and right proportion, fueled by the hidden sacred that is beyond all those circumstances, right? And that is a holy, inner, private relationship with the one who made you and sustains you and will never leave you, right? This is what it is to be a keeper of the sacred, to rest in the depths of that which cannot be named, which never leaves its silence. Again, and we'll practice with this here in just a minute, actually finding connection with that together. This will not be named. Your hidden sacred can sing, can express, can influence the world in so many ways, but she'll never be named fully. She will always remain a bit of a mystery to you because that's her nature, right? And even more to become one with another, to escort the world into that silence. What does that mean? What could that mean for our world if you tend to the hidden sacred in you with such residency, such stewardship and reverence that you escort others into their own meeting in the hidden sacred? Through the silence that's gathered in you, the substance of your own hidden sacred, that you could escort another to that place. Because what emerges from the hidden sacred is trustworthy, and it comes from beyond all of these circumstances. It comes from an ancient place. It comes from a birth-giving place. So to understand that as a sacred responsibility, we keep the hidden sacred because she has import in her own right. We keep it on behalf of our own soul and on behalf of our families and on behalf of our world. Every time you come to your hidden sacred, especially now, especially when so much transformation and excess is happening, when you fill your reservoir, when you come to the hidden, you are making an anchor. You are drawing us all down. You're making an anchor point, and it will not look like anything. And that's important. It might be silent. It may have no external expression at all, but it is tangible and palpable, and it changes the fabric of the world. When you anchor in your hidden sacred, you take as much of the world that's willing to go with you, as much of your world as willing to go with you. And then there can be a breath, a drink, right? A remembrance that then infuses our world and the people that you love, the people you care about, the people of your world. The world may resist the death that is life, which is what we see happening everywhere right now. Understandably, very understandably, the annihilation, the disorientation of being deconstructed, of having to lay things down that we thought we knew, who we thought we were, you know, we're in a death journey. We're in a resurrection cycle, right? Death and life coming out of that death. So the world may resist the death that is life, meaning you might feel resistance in your own self to going into the hidden sacred place and in others to you going into your hidden sacred place. Well, of course. But that doesn't change what your what sacred stewardship looks like for you, right? And your choice about what's true for you in terms of what do you need to draw on and what do you need in order to draw on it? How are you tending the how are you tending that inner private holy place? Wrapping itself so tightly in prideful noise and doing that holy silence simply stays where she is, invisible, content, and elusive to the overstimulated. So, in there is a directive toward if we, there's a fullness of being. This is the true, intact, hidden sacred is is here for us, lives inside of us, but doesn't, it just isn't available. It's not touchable, right? We with overstimulation, all these things, it's like the hidden sacred doesn't need anything. We just kind of absorb ourselves into it, right? We come back and in and we find this pillar inside of us. We re-inhabit the holy sanctums that are inside of our own bodies and beings, right? And it's just a softening back down and in, right? It's just a coming home. It's always right there. That is a teaching that's through so many holy traditions, right? This is just homecoming. And it's always intact, it's incorruptible and intact. The hidden sacred, we might be busy, we might be overstimulated, we might be kind of unable to receive it or soften down into it. But she herself is just what she is, silent, content, often invisible, and elusive to the overstimulated. So, this question of when do I stop scrolling Facebook, or when do I turn off media, or when do I take that minute and that long minute and sit and get quiet and just listen, just turn my deep listening to myself. I mean, this is sacred stewardship. There is import here, true import, right? Overstimulation, the excess of overstimulation leads to true depletion, collapse, and then empty action, empty, excessive action. Drawing on the hidden sacred, drawing on a substance, that sacred substance inside of you that's beyond whatever circumstances in front of you, fills the world. It opens for an upwelling, right? It fills the cup. So it's a filling, it fills your own being, and it begins to fill in the world, to seal up the fractures, right? To bring an intact fortification, right? Make yourself a dwelling place for the substance of silence. Again, that's where our choice point is. We have to choose to make ourselves a dwelling place for this. It is innate. It is a given. That's true. And we have we have choice, we have will force to apply to whether or not we actually make ourselves a dwelling place for it. Your rest, your return to the hidden sacred is your silent summoning of volcanic power. Why that's significant is that there's a drawing in, down, and there's a certain effortlessness, there's a certain non-doing and receptivity to necessary to return to the hidden sacred, right? To really come in and draw forth, right? That can be misperceived as passive, right? And in a way, it can often be misperceived as a retreat or as I'm not showing up for this, or there's it's really important that we know that when we actually do return to silence as a substance, when we turn towards the hidden sacred, even if we don't know what in the world that means in a given moment, if it feels that confusing, or oftentimes it'll be like, I don't even know what that means, but all there is the choice of like, okay, then show me. I want to come home, please. Show me. I'm listening. I want to know you. I want to remember you. I want to come home, right? So in that, it's really important that we pull away all these illusions that might be some kind of a retreat, or that might mean that we're not able to show up for our world, or we're not showing up for our world, or absolutely not. This is resourcing in volcanic power. Just because it may be invisible, just because it might not move outward in a dispersive way, just because it won't reveal itself, talk about itself, name itself, show itself, posture itself, just because it won't do all the things doesn't mean that it isn't, well, what it does mean is it's because it's volcanic power. It is the kind of power that just rests at the root, rests under the surface of all things, and will not be moved by them, is the resource. This is the resource. The hidden sacred is the resource. It's the refuge and the resource. A drawing in of a kind of substantial mm, power, but mm, a holiness. I just keep wanting to say it's a substance, right? And when we're talking about the hidden sacred, we're not talking about a concept. We're talking about a reality, right? So, the hidden sacred, that which will not be named, that which is the resource, and that which lives in a very deeply private place inside of all of us, right? And although it's so private, it's so tender in a way. It's so, it's the thing. It's a thing that we touch because we can't name it, because it is a direct connection with our soul, a direct connection with the unnameable in a way. It's it feels it has our own blueprint in it. It has, it's very much so it's a very private experience, right? But it's also the meeting place. It's also where we are all actually stewards of the sacred, and we meet in that place by going down and in, and by taking up residency and stewardship of that lives inside of us. So Rain says she feels like she's been living more within the hidden sacred lately, just being and not sharing it. Still trying to figure out who she is and where she's going with it all in life. Yeah. The hidden sacred often is, it occupies that place of the holy pause, right? Of just taking a moment, taking a breath, no, honoring the holy pause for however short or long it might need to be, right? But um, stepping away from, unhooking from the false urgencies. And false urgencies might be false, but they never appear false. That's the whole thing, right? But it's the false urgencies, it's the intensity and that pace that will drain the river under your river, right? I want to get into practice together. Is there anything that anyone, I'm just kind of talking and I'm just wanting to check in with everyone if there's anything that resonates here or anything you want to share or speak to. Depends on how many. Catherine says it feels like a balm. Good. And Mara says, yes, she recognized that place of resource amongst all the draining. Elizabeth saying she's thinking of how this relates to the season we're in. Noelle says it's beautiful. There are almost no words, which probably indicates that you're touching your hidden sacred. Right? That's part of, and I think part of what was really in my heart with this, because things are really loud right now, really loud. And there's a lot of posturing. It's very seductive. And um, that nectar that you get from touching that thing that you will never be able to fully ever explain to anyone else. Like that nectar that you can sip from that place is it's so important. And it's not loud. And I could say I have a concern, I have a prayer that whatever you are moving through, whatever, just whatever's going on, that you won't abandon your hidden sacred, right? That you will, um, that you will choose to give your hidden sacred her place of her right place, you know that's where our will force lies. That's where the will force relates to the hidden sacred. We use will force in all these ways, and a lot of times it's in creation, it's in the brilliance, it's in the action, it's in the expression of that which is ultimately drawing on the hidden sacred, i.e. the yin field, is that which we're drawing on to create all beauty, right? And so I just lost my train of thought because I went into I went into Taoist teachings all of a sudden. Um, that our will force in relationship to the hidden sacred in a way that will not disperse from it or drain from it or draw on it. Will force draws on the hidden sacred a lot, right? Will force turned towards cultivating your hidden sacred, towards making yourself a dwelling place, right? Towards coming home. That's holy reciprocity between your will force, your doing, and the innateness of your being. Right? The divine pride of knowing that you steward something that is beyond your imagining, that you will never fully understand, but that was gifted to you. on behalf of all. And that is your hidden sacred, right? There's some really good shares, but um, I can't read them all. Lloyd is saying she loves the way he loves me. Oh, sorry, Lloyd. He loves the way um, that of describing this the peace of this place. That there's this thing of not doing anything with it, right? And I think that is a requirement of touching the hidden sacred. Is you move towards it and say, and I will ask nothing of you. I'm not going to ask you to solve the world's problems. I'm not going to ask you to make me right or wrong. I'm not going to ask you to give me any answers on these things that confuse me. I'm not going to ask anything of you. I'm going to allow you to be what you are. I'm just going to drink from that. And there's a that's the accumulation of substance, right? That's the difference between pulling on this, asking something of it, or cultivating it. Right? And it's so important because we are all, I know all of you are rising up into what the world is asking right now, that there is a big ask happening and it's just going to continue. There's an answering tide. Many of us are riding it. Many of us are opening to want to be instruments of the answering tide to all that's falling apart, to all the suffering, whatever we're seeing, right? We're wanting to ride and be a part of uh, be a part of that. In order to do that, we have to cultivate the root. And in order to do that for the long term, sustainably, and to remain in integrity, this just cultivation, right? I cultivate, I gather this, I be with it, I lend my power, my awareness, my love to it, I amplify it, and I ask nothing of it, right? Kathy says the polarities are so intense that I sometimes feel forced into the hidden sacred. Exactly, because it's the refuge. And I think what I would say is good. That's the place to go, into the hidden sacred, and draw what comes in truth from there. And to trust that, and to not, again, you go to the hidden sacred or that silent place, that deeper listening, and it's not in order to ask this place to resolve the polarities for you. This place is a place where it's underneath of all of that. It is the resource. It's the meeting place. So um, to understand that we might need to take refuge more than we imagined, given all that's happening, that if we were to actually tend to the hidden sacred in ourselves, if we were to actually kind of move with the volition to not participate in polarization, but to want to and not kind of try to locate ourselves in that paradigm, if we're to do that, if we're to come from a deeper place, given how inflamed and how just kind of given the state of things, we might need to take refuge a lot more than what we either think we might have had to do or we feel like giving ourselves permission to do. And I think there's some exploration to be done there. Noticing when I take the time to touch into this place, to come down under all the polarization, to come down under the react, to come down into a resourced place. When I do that, and I follow what comes out of that place, what happens? What are the fruits? You know, you don't have to take my word for it. Who knows? You look at the fruits of what you're actually doing. If you're moving with all of this action and all of this passion and lots of concepts and understandings and lots of energy, and maybe a lot of it's beautiful and it's meaningful to you and all of this, it's just important to watch the fruits. What's it actually creating? Right? And to just, there we are, we're on our path and we're watching the fruits of our actions, and we're choosing then what we will what we will do and how we will carry ourselves. Karen's saying she's appreciating the invitation to stop trying to name the underlying substance. Yeah. Letting the mind relax, not having to figure it all out or explain or justify it. It doesn't want to be named. It wants to work through me. Beautiful. Exactly. I love the way you're describing that. It's like it's a softening into something that it's life being lived through us. That's what we touch when we touch the hidden sacred. It doesn't have to, it's not this big esoteric thing. It's very familiar to you. Trust me. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't. So it's like not here, but like here. The hidden sacred is with you. It's much more often mundane, invisible, simple, unspoken than not. And so it often, because it goes unrecognized in us and around us, we're not amplifying it with our awareness. So, and yes, it wants to work through you. This is, in a way, like this is the place from which you're going to express something of the greatest depth. Amanda says the holy pause and false urgencies are particularly relevant for her right now. She feels drained, and all of this speaks to why. There's been many conversations she's been following on social media, and while it was once invigorating, she's now much more empowered by these grounding messages. I think I'm not going to be able to read everything, but I think one of the things that I think you're sensing is like, right, so there's the spark. There's spark necessary for alchemy, right? And then there's the long, slow burn of actually bringing something into full fruition. And they're different. It's just different elements. It's a different movement. And what I'm hearing a little bit in your share, Amanda, is that there was a spark for a while. There was, you were once feeling invigorated by it, like alive. And so there it was, you were given the spark. Now, you move into this place of like, and how, whatever spark was given to you, how is that going to become a long burning, sustainable, warmth giving, life giving flame, right? And I think that's it's an important transition to note. It feels really different. It feels very different to be kind of lit up and sparked and all of that than to be in cultivation. And yeah, they both have their place. Katharina says she feels it as crumbling mountains rising the tide of the ocean. I love that. I like that a lot. It's a beautiful image. Yeah. And Elizabeth says, I feel this is also a refuge from more structured spiritual dogmas. She's wanting to settle into consistent practice, but there's so many to choose from. To practice simply returning home feels like such a relief. Yeah, it is. And Rain's saying homecoming is her favorite transmission from her mystery school, which says something because there's like 36 transmissions in her mystery school. But homecoming is where we start. Homecoming it's the thing. Just come home, right? And there's all these different ways to do it. I wanted us to just have a moment to drop into it together, so we're not just speaking. So if you're willing to let me guide a moment of our togetherness, we'll just see what we can touch together. Go ahead and close your eyes if it's safe for you to do so. And first, just notice what you are without any need to change it. Thoughts, sensations, subtle feelings through your body. Just turning your deep listening toward your own being. First, just meeting what you are without any need to change it. Begin to invite a softening back and then dropping down, feeling all your energy, all your being like water. And as you soften back, as you sink down, let the pure waters of your being naturally find the lowest places, the depths. Feel your own essence, your own energy, just effortlessly flowing back to you. Seeping into the ground of your being. Saturating into all the secret, tucked away, hidden places. Just let this happen. Breathing. And again, softening back, resting into support, resting into what upholds you in this moment at your back. And softening down into your root. Anchoring yourself at the center of this moment, at the center of your world. Making yourself a place for the hidden sacred. Making a home in you. Here, at the center of your world, at the center of the world. And just breathing there for a few moments. Opening to that which cannot be named, that which is deep in you. Opening to it without going after it, just let it be. What is living through you? Cultivating, asking nothing of it, keeping it in the depths of your own inner privacy. And very simply, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Just finding that thread of connection where you stay anchored inside of yourself, even as you open your eyes, become again more aware of that which is around you. And although we are at the top of our hour, I would like to stay with you, for those of you who can stay, for another 10 minutes or so, I'd love to have just a collective witnessing, what that was for you, what you touched, what you have to share here. I won't be able to read them all, but you should be able to see them all. Um, and what I want to also say as we're moving forward from this, it's like I don't want it to be really esoteric, and I don't I don't want it to be one of those things that's just like more confusing and one more thing to do. Well, return to your hidden sacred, right? So one way to return to the hidden sacred is to just notice all the things that it's not. So, or that are not it. So because it's an invisible, intangible, kind of unnameable presence, it's a substance, it's right. So in a way, one way to touch it or to come home to it is to, you sit and you're like, okay, well, I feel that thing, or I hear that thought, or whatever it is, or this is a movement um, out from me, kind of like naming what it's not. Because if you can name it, it's not your hidden sacred. So you're like, oh, well, I named that belief that I was having, or that expression of myself. If you can name it, it's not it. So you're kind of finding your way, like that. The movement, how water just finds her way. It's just what she's made to do. It's just the natural law of water. Moves, sinks down to the lowest place, finds the secret places, right? So when you're in that moment just of needing to come home, I think just knowing that if you can name it, it's not it, and that doesn't mean at all that what you can name doesn't have validity. We're not undercutting something. These kind of depths amplify and resource everything else in our lives. They don't cut things off. So you have all these important things in your life, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're moving through. Just because those aren't the hidden sacred exactly, in terms of what we're gesturing toward, this deeper resource that is unnameable, it's okay. It's okay to move beyond them. And it's okay to say, I want to touch what's deeper than that. I want to touch what's deeper than that, what's deeper than that. It doesn't mean that it's going to invalidate what else is in your world. The hidden sacred will only refine, nourish, anchor, and resource everything else in your world, right? A lot of people finding it grounding and peaceful. Noelle is saying she's recognizing that she's anchored herself to her ex-boyfriend instead of to herself. That's a good insight. Sally's feeling grateful how close it is. Holly's saying it felt soft and gentle, a huge inner sigh. Um, Amanda's saying, how is it different from Kundalini, Prana, Chi, etc.? I would say, who knows? It's just that as soon as you're calling it Kundalini or Prana or Chi, you're naming it. So the most important thing, it's great. It's great to have traditions and systems of articulating practice. Why I created one, right? So there's huge value in that. For this kind of very distilled and very focused presence in the hidden sacred, we say that, like, it doesn't matter. We're just touching what's real, you know. I would say the hidden sacred's at the root of whatever is real. So an experience of kundalini, an experience of prana, an experience of anything, at the root of that is the hidden sacred, if it's real, right? That's what makes it real, because it's something we're actually touching. It's no longer a concept. It's no longer a reaching for. And we're allowing what it is to not be named, and to still be to be realer than anything, right? Because we've touched it and we know it. We know the substance of it. Sarah says it feels like safety and refuge. Elizabeth loved the question, what is growing through you? Yeah. Beautiful. Mandira says, for me, this has been like going from, oh no, the house is on fire, to, oh great, the fire in the hearth is burning bright and warm and my soup is ready. That's awesome. I love all the different ways that we touch the hidden sacred and then articulate it, right? Like, there are so many different ways. And I think that that's something in terms of the hidden sacred being the meeting place, right? There are many wisdom streams, right? But what's flowing in them ultimately is one thing. And so, to together touch the hidden sacred and know that that was extremely private for each of us, even the journey of touching it, and then to see, all these different ways then that expresses out into the world, how we share it, how we, yeah, how we give expression to it. Mary Jo says this practice gave her a road and to follow to the unknown. Beautiful. Francesca says she loves ask nothing of it. We ask so much of everything all the time. It feels like such a rebellious act to approach this place without desiring an outcome. Yeah. I think that in a way, there's a way that culturally and in other ways, we're kind of in a habitual and imbalanced dispersion, right? And it is a rebellious act to say, like, yeah, no, I'm not going to ask anything of this. I'm just going to let it be. And imagine, right? Imagine that applied to yourself, right? We're kind of holding it as like, this is the hidden sacred. This is this beautiful, holy thing that lives inside of you, right? This deep resource. And this is also you. What is it to hold yourself, to give yourself, to say that you are the hidden sacred, to approach your being in the same way, right? And we kind of started the meditation in that way of like, first just meet yourself and ask nothing of that. And as soon as you do that, you're already touching the hidden sacred because you've just given it place, right? Um, Lloyd says, from concealing to revealing, all in the deepest private space of knowing and sowing. You got a song there, Lloyd. Valuable message, gratitude of the deepest kind. Yeah, I love that. I feel like you're really good at this, Lloyd, just from the little bit that I've gotten to know about you of having this concealing and revealing, like just being able to really hold that's deep inside of you. And also, I see in the world how what you're doing in the world is a revelation of that. There's a continuity. And I think, and I'm so glad that you shared that, because I think that is one more thing to help with this, is that what we're wanting to find is not that we like kind of like move to the hidden sacred and live there, whatever that would even mean, but to become coherent, to know that what's actually inside of us, this concealed hidden truth, this this beautiful soulful thing that won't ever be named, but what we know better than we know anything actually, that is in congruence with what we're revealing, that what we reveal into the world is from this place. It's the same. It's an expression of what's concealed, right? That is a huge gift to the world. And it's also, I mean, that's congruency, right? That is integrity as a lived state of being. Is to know that what I'm bringing from me is incongruence. Actually a true expression of what is hidden within me, right? And I feel such a return. We're talking about homecoming for ourselves. That is a homecoming for all of life. Um, couple people had a little bit of sleep, which is nice. And they said she needed it this week. She's at a loss for words. But that to meet myself is making tears come. Her body's reaction to truth. Yeah. Above as it is below, says Sasha. Yes, very true. So we're at time, and I'd like us to close with a prayer together. Thank you so much for gathering in this way with me, and yeah, for doing this together, for meeting in the hidden sacred together, even in all the places that we are. I feel really, I just feel really in, and I feel again, yes, the river under the river. And this has come from, it's a phrase my teacher uses, the river under the river. What's happening there? You know, right? Then and this is what we're tending, the river under the river. And you know that place. All you have to do is ask for it to be shown to you. Just ask, just remember that it exists. The river under the river exists. That's right. Okay. Where is it? What's happening there? Um, all right, let's have our closing prayer together. Thank you for bringing us to the gathering place together. Thank you for helping us recognize the hidden sacred in one another without needing to speak it out, without needing to name it. Thank you for making us more and more truly noble in soul, truly congruent with what you made us to be, what our true nature is, what has been given. Please keep us close to remembrance in all the many ways that you do. Please help us to see how you meet us again and again in whatever way we can actually receive you. Please keep us close. Thank you. Blessed be. Mm, blessed be. Well, thank you all very much for being with me, sharing some worship time together. May it serve. There's a couple more. There's the next 2 Sundays. There's a couple more. You're welcome to join for. And I'm going to send out a recording of this one. Um, I know some of you were having some connection issues and things. So thank you all. Blessed be.